Space, the final frontier. Join us for a bold conversation. Our prime directive: to recap our favorite Star Trek shows, both new and old. To engage in debate about all things Trek. Prepare to energize with phasers set to stun.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to an all-new episode of Phasers Set to Stun, where we continue to show our love for everything Star Trek in this ongoing series from a Film by Podcast, focusing on every system of the expanding Star Trek universe by covering television, movies, animation, directors, merchandise, and much, much more. Plotting your course on this voyage is your core Trek crew. I'm Wayne Whited.
And I'm Scott Hoffman.
And I'm David Burns.
And today we're crashing a shuttle all the way back to 1989 and taking a close and detailed look at the fifth entry into the Star Trek film franchise. Yes, guys, the time has come to talk about Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. And this time we have William Shatner himself taking the captain's chair and directing the film, with a script written by David Lowery from a story created by William Shatner, Harve Bennett, and David Lowery. So, Scott, why don't you give us a short summary to remind us just what happened in this film?
Wayne, I think you mean to say share it with me and gain strength from the sharing.
Nice.
In this 1989 semi-metaphysical voyage, we find Kirk's complete original crew come home to a new Enterprise in almost working order, just in time for another charismatic madman leading another gang of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome stunt doubles to take over the ship. There must be something about Tatooine activewear that befuddles the crew. Their mission is led by the mysterious Sybok, the never-mentioned half-brother of Spock, who has taken hostage a small band of delegates from the Federation, Romulan, and Klingon Empire. With apparently strong psychic and empathic powers, he's able to draw out each person's pain in a forced catharsis that renders them completely devoted to his obsession, finding the Supreme Being. Sybok takes over one mind at a time until he has control of the Enterprise, which he needs to travel beyond the Great Barrier. This section of previously impassable space is where Sybok believes he can find not only the creator of everything, but the answers to every question ever asked by living beings. It's an adventure that absolutely stands out as unique in the franchise, for better or worse. As they pursue these answers, and one of the most important of any of them, what does God need with a starship? I'll add one more question to the pile. Are we ready to talk about a movie that, for many like me, can't decide if this is the worst Star Trek movie or if I secretly love it? Wayne, what are your thoughts?
Well, let me paint a picture here about my anticipation for this film. Just imagine you're 16 years old and you just got your driver's license 2 months back, and you're one of the biggest Star Trek Trekkies on the planet, devouring everything there is about the show. So secretly you take the family car, pick up your friends, and you drive to Lima, Ohio, which if your mom found out you drove that far, she'd skin you alive. You stop at the American Mall, which is a small indoor mall that has like a KB's Toys and a Music Land and a great hangout for teenagers. And it has a small two-screen theater inside. You walk in and you see hanging near the door a poster showing a chair floating in space, asking you, why are they putting seatbelts in theaters this summer? For me, that was a great time to be a Star Trek fan. How could you not be overwhelmed by the anticipation? And then I saw it. So, yeah. Oh, man. I don't think it's that bad of a film.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't think it's the greatest Star Trek film, but it's definitely not. But it's not that bad. It has some really good parts to it. I will admit it. But after coming, with Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, which were all fantastic films, this is lacking in a lot of places. At least that's the way I thought.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there's definitely a part in this where it feels like one of the most un-Star Trek movies, where nobody's studying anything, nobody's taking out a device. They're just kind of assuming everything in front of them to be true, which strikes me as odd. But there are enough fun parts of this that over time feels like it's aged a little bit better with me. Not that I'm gonna, put this into heavy rotation, but I can definitely appreciate it a little bit more for the good parts, despite one pretty big bad part.
Well, I know one of the main reasons why they put the seatbelts in is because they didn't want you to leave.
I like that.
That's a good idea.
But really, when I think of this film, three things come to mind right away: Kirk climbing the mountain at Yosemite, the search for God, and row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I wasn't a fan of this film when I was a kid. I remember going to the theater seeing this with my father in '89, which, by the way, I will still claim '89 is one of the best years in the '80s for movies.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember us going in and seeing it, and then I came out of the theater very, very disappointed because, we came off of The Voyage Home, 3 years earlier, and absolutely loved that film and, loved what we called the trilogy, with Khan and The Search for Spock and The Voyage Home. It's just... I do respect it more now than I did, obviously, because I look at Star Trek as a whole. It's nice that we have a Star Trek film, and thankfully it continued after this one. And if you really look at it, it was successful. What did it cost? $27 million, but it ended up making what, 50 or 60 million?
Oh yeah.
It still made its money back.
Well, a lot of it was from me, I think.
There is some good humor in this and some good moments between characters, but I just feel at times it was bland, empty, and really not very action-packed that I really wanted. And I gotta say, the Klingons in this, with the exception of Cord, I liked him, feel like they were ordered straight from Wish.com. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So it is interesting. They are pretty badass Klingons.
Okay.
Well, they are bad, and they do have an ass, so yeah.
Yes.
That's true. Vixis is like, ripped as hell. Spice Williams Crosby is a stunt performer who's got a long list. So I don't know. I thought her character in Captain Claw, like, he looks like where they were trying to take the cinematic Klingons with like the big hair and like the, it's like '89 metal kind of Klingons. I thought, at least, but I am alone, and that's
they look like Klingon teenagers that stole that took the bird of prey from their parents and went on a joyride.
They were doing what you did. They
Yeah,
took the family vehicle.
That's how the mission goes. Yeah. Especially because he proves his his metal by shooting space garbage. And it's kind of like it's just a satellite. Like,
did you just call Voyager garbage? Shame on you. Voyager's going to be coming after you.
Just wait. Yeah, I don't know when I originally saw this movie, but I remember the first time just being confused about what I saw. And it took a couple of rewatches to be like, oh, okay, I get what's going on. Just because that ending, the ending doesn't really make sense. The beginning really didn't make much sense to me either, because it's like you've got somebody who's, mining in the desert, kind of digging holes, who can barely load a gun, yet this is one of the generals that's going to take over the Enterprise. Like, it's a thin stretched reality, I think, how they're able to take things over, and doesn't necessarily speak well to the crew that they've had we're 5 movies in. They've had control of the Enterprise 3 times, and they've lost it twice.
Yep. To
a ragtag band of people that basically just point weapons at them and take over. I don't know. It seems a little far-fetched, but
it does in essence. And I feel this film has a few things already stacked against it. One of them is I do not like Sybok. I don't really? Like that they made him the half brother of Spock, and I didn't like that at all. Because come on, Kirk and Spock have known each other for many, many years. Kirk would have known this. This would have come out somewhere well before this. But I think the other things that stacked against this. This isn't a year it was going up against what? Batman, The Last Crusade,
Ghostbusters
License to Kill, Ghostbusters 2. So there's many things going against. And then you got ILM, who was really, really busy, and they couldn't support this film. That it really needed that support for special effects. Yeah. And on top of that, you had the Writers Guild strike.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that were stacked against this film. But and I know Paramount is the one who's partially to blame for this because they just kept pushing us forward to get it done and get it out there. I really wish they would have waited a little bit longer because we could have probably had a better film than what we got. So there's a lot of things against it. Granted, I mean, we mentioned earlier there are some things in this film that I enjoy. I still feel some of the humor was pretty good in this.
Yeah.
You know, especially with McCoy and Spock and Kirk and all of them. I like that. I like the Ahura Scotty stuff. I felt like it was nice to see them making that connection with one another. You know, when she brought dinner and stuff like that, I thought that was cool. I loved that connection, and I wanted more of that. So I mean, there is some good stuff in this film. I can't complain about that. It is overall, I just did not like this movie.
Well, I mean, I was disappointed in the film so much I went to the theater 3 more times after that and saw it. So, but I mean, I was just writing on that I love Star Trek thing. But you know, then I started watching it more and more when it came out on videotape and DVD, and I started realizing that, you know, it's a very flawed film. It's very William Shatner. I mean, I'll admit that. You know, we just got 2 films with Leonard Nimoy directing, and then you watch this, and this is. In my opinion, this is the way Shatner sees Star Trek. It's very, very different, you know, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's kind of hard to even describe my true feelings about this film. It's just in pieces, it's great. As a whole, it's just doesn't work at all. It's horrible.
Yeah. So there's 2 specific pieces of this that don't really work for me that were really standing out to me when I was rewatching this. One is the apparent confusion about Vulcans and Romulans. And I'll do the low-hanging fruit first. The Romulan delegate. I don't believe it's the actress's fault because I don't know enough about the writing behind it and what was being done. But it just seems like a very un-Romulan character. Her attitude walking in, like, she seems like she could have been any species necessarily. There wasn't anything specifically Romulan about her. Even her the ears were covered by these like decorative ornate kind of Princess Leia headphones shaped like Romulan ears, right? The attitude and things that came through in the Next Generation just was really kind of confusing. Like, I kept watching this like, how is this a Romulan character?
You're right, but maybe it's because of all that she became the ambassador of this crappy planet.
Could be
Romulans
true.
sent her off there because it seems like one of the worst assignments that you possibly could have for an ambassador.
True.
Yeah. Plus, you know, we really hadn't seen much of the Romulans.
Not in theaters. We have this is the
Not in
first time in
theaters,
it.
and let me think. I'm trying to think when this aired. They've only appeared twice on the Next Generation.
Yeah, this is
barely in one. So yeah, she's one of the earliest Romulans in terms of like the 80s or so. Yeah, but you're right. She doesn't act.
It's just kind of a wasted opportunity because it
is.
And she seems to be pretty happy for somebody if she's like, you know, shoved off to the dumpster of the galaxy. She seems very gleeful before she's even manipulated by Cybok. So I don't know. And then it's Cybok himself. You know, if he's full Vulcan, the son of Sarek and a Vulcan princess. Aside from the fact that there's not much Vulcan about him, he has these kind of, what is it, like a low-level kind of psychic field, I'm guessing, because when he's taking McCoy through his episode with his father, or he's trying to go through Spock's pain at his birth, it feels like they're implying that the other people in the room can see it.
I think that's right. Yeah,
That's
I think
correct.
they can. Yeah.
Which seems odd. I don't know that I've ever heard of, you know, that kind of Vulcan powers or anything else like that. And just his introduction when he's riding up on the horse on Martian Manhunter in the desert, like digging for holes. He gasps and he's like, "Oh, you're a Vulcan!" Like, we should all be blown away by this in the 5th movie, and it's kind of like, so what? Like, it just seemed so odd for both of those characters, and it just very off in terms of Star Trek.
Yeah, and we're talking about the ambassadors. They have two great actors. You got David Warner and Charles Cooper, and they're so underused in this film. It's embarrassing how underused David Warner is. We all know he's a fantastic actor. We love him. He's appeared later in Star Trek, fortunately, in good parts. But why are they even there?
Yeah,
they really have nothing to do with the storyline.
It was a lot better the last time he was pursuing the Supreme Being in Time Bandits.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he got some redemption as Gul Madred in Next Generation.
Yeah, and he plays Gorkin in Undiscovered Country.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about him again soon.
He's been in everything. God, love all the stuff he's been in.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Charles Cooper. We see him again on Next Generation. He plays Kimpek, the leader of the Klingons. I think practically the same character, really, as he's playing here, but much more important. I don't know. There's a lot of parts of this film that just don't work for me. There are a few that do, especially the music. And some of the scenes are brilliant. You brought up the scene in the in that room where he's seeing the visions. I actually like that part. That's one of my favorite parts of the film. That may not make much sense, but it is nicely shot, and the way Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are having the conversation, the way they work together in those scenes is really nice. Really.
I think the McCoy stuff was the best there.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked all of it. I liked that entire scene. So I'm with you on that. That's like one of my favorite parts of the film, and how that was handled and how that was directed. But the McCoy scene I thought was absolutely incredible, because it was nice to actually get to see some more of his character, his family that we really haven't gotten to see. I really appreciated that, and I even liked when Sybok was trying to get Kirk, and Kirk refused. And basically he says, I need my pain. Because basically what makes him who he is that pain. You take it away, then what are you? You're nobody. You're a zombie, basically.
Right.
So I like that, and I like that response from Kirk there.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that Bones and Spock don't go with Sybok. That they choose to remain with Kirk.
Yep.
I was very, very glad to see that.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that too. We'll get into that later. But yeah, there is a reason why it unfolds that way. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back to finish our discussion on Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. All right, we're back, and let's see what more we can talk about this. Let's see if we can find something good to talk about. So, guys, I mean, we started talking about some bits of this film that we really liked. What would you consider your favorite thing about this film?
For me, I think it's in the Briggs scene that I laugh hysterically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When they get thrown in there, and Kirk just looks at Spock, forgive you, I should knock you on your goddamn ass. And McCoy responds, you want me to hold him, Jim? You stay out of this. I love that whole sequence right there. And then, of course, eventually Scotty comes to save them with the SOS to stand back. And they're like listening to the SOS to try to figure out ST. And they're just going through the whole thing. I love that whole sequence.
Yeah. I expected that every time I watch it, for some reason, based on what we saw in Star Trek IV, when Kirk is yelling at Spock and he's like, "I'm gonna knock you on your ass for that," I expect Spock to say, "Well, double dumbass on you," or whatever.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the attempted breakout where he's like useless, unwise, and then it shocks him.
Yeah.
I think Scotty is definitely a standout in this one. He's all business. I mean, he's got his hands full from cover to cover, but he's got great lines. Even the part where he, I know this ship like the back of my hand, and knocks himself out. That's a little far fetched, but still, the comedy hits. The comedy hits in a lot of places for me with this one, which is one of the reasons that it's become better. It's not one that I really want to watch all the time, but the breakout scene, like you're talking about, and the Yosemite scenes, even though they were a bit ridiculous, McCoy's comedy is spot on, where he's like gambling with life, playing games. Here I am relaxing, being idiots. And it's just nice to see them come together in a moment where they can truly relax, because they haven't necessarily had that for the past 4 movies. The last one was a little bit more lighthearted, but it feels like that makes it more accessible to a wider audience. As long as they don't do it to such a big degree that it becomes distant from Star Trek. And aside from Kirk saying that row, row, row your boat has like 6 rows in it. And the marshmallows and things like that. So I don't know. I just like those moments. Made it feel like pals.
And I'm glad the movie book ended it that way too.
I did too.
You know, how it ended with them at the campfire, you know, and hanging out again. So I'm glad they did realize, you know, that was a good piece to have in this film, to have those characters relax and to do it again at the end. I like that.
Yeah, and, you know, going on with what both of you said, anytime that Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are on screen together, I think is some of my favorite moments, because they really do show their friendship here in this film. It comes across really well, but I really like the scene. I like the shuttlecraft crash. I think, considering, you know, some of the visual effects are hit and miss, I thought it looked fantastic. But I like the scene right after, you know, when Spock picks up the gun, and, you know, Kirk is like, shoot him, and I really like the scene. I like the tension. I like the way it was played by the cast.
Yeah.
So along those lines, when you talk about like the crash scene, I don't know specifically why this had happened on my latest viewing of it, but the set design really stood out to me. I feel like the set designs were really lit well. I think they were designed well. Like, there's a lot of places where we're kind of navigating corridors, like after the prison break. It felt like we had some influence from Next Generation that was probably advancing the interior set design. The lighting was just, I don't know, it stood out to me as really impressive.
Well, it was more than just influence. They had to reuse some of their sets. The corridors were just completely reused. They didn't even change them at all. They couldn't, because they were filming Next Generation at the time. But some of the sets are brand new. I know the bridge is brand new. And they brought in the designers for the Next Generation. I think the sets look fantastic, and you're right, they're lit well. They're not too dark like some of the films later on. They just look great, especially that room. What do they call that? The room with the wheel. I can't think of what they called that in the film now, but I love that set with the big windows.
Oh, with the big, I know what you mean.
They're like an observation deck or something.
Yeah.
That they had.
No.
Kind of like their 10-4, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was supposed to be. That's where it's supposed to be on the ship, but there's no windows in the front of the ship to you know, show that. So it didn't quite match the model.
Yeah. Interesting. I do like the one simple shot, because you guys are talking about how, you know, some of these scenes were lit really well and the rooms and stuff like that. To go back to the hangar bay, I just like the simple shot of looking out at the glass over top of the hangar bay. You get that shot a couple times, especially when Scotty is like watching what's going on, when it crashes and stuff like that in the fight. But I agree with you guys. I think they did a really good job with that this time.
There was another scene that stood out to me because I think it's unique in all the Star Wars. Oh boy, I did.
Oh boy,
I should say 10 Hail Kirks. Hold on a second. There is one thing that really stands out as unique in all the Star Trek movies, which is the Uhura song and dance sequence.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah. Glad you brought that up.
at first, I was really happy to see that this time. I knew it was there. I knew it was coming. But it was before I knew her history as a singer and a dancer from our Woman in Motion episode.
Yep.
If you missed that, please go listen. If you haven't seen that documentary, please go watch it. But then I was disappointed when I heard that they didn't use her voice.
Right.
See, I didn't know that.
Overdubbed, which just seems like, why would you do that to Michelle?
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't know that until recently too. Wow.
Dumb decisions is what that was. Dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
She even was heartbroken too when she found out that they had dubbed her over. I mean, I would have been furious.
It's kind of like, I've been with you this long. I've been, moving this forward, and you do that to me. That sucks.
Yeah, there was no reason for them to have to overdub it into the voice, really.
I think my the favorite line for me is, "Captain, please, not in front of the Klingons."
Oh yeah,
I thought that was funny.
All right, do we have anything else that we can say positive about the film?
Let's dig.
I will say this gave us Jerry Goldsmith back.
Yes.
So that is one highlight of this film, is we got him back to compose this music.
Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about the score. We'll bring that up. You know, Shatner wanted to bring back composer Jerry Goldsmith from the beginning, and boy, am I glad he did. I mean, I loved Horner. I thought Leonard Rosenman did a fantastic job, but everybody knows how much of a Goldsmith fan I am, and that score he did for the motion picture is just outstanding. You know, Goldsmith recorded this score at Paramount Stage M over 6 days in March and April of that year. 91-piece Hollywood Symphony Orchestra recorded about 74 minutes of score. So what do you guys think about it?
Well, I think it's the Goldsmith that we all love. You get the percussion with percussion rhythms, you know, the frenetic string lines, and that forceful brass that he loves to use. Yeah. It really brings out the power of this movie, of Star Trek in general, and anything Goldsmith touches, to be honest with you. So, I mean, it's something that was definitely missed. And, you know, I love Horner, Wayne. I've loved Horner for a very long time, and he's among one of my favorite composers. But I will admit, Goldsmith's score is way better for Star Trek. So I'm glad he did return to it. It fits very, very well. You know, we get the main theme again at the beginning of this film, you know, which we know very well from, you know, Next Generation and stuff like that. And I believe, was it Next Generation in their second or third season when this came out?
They had just finished airing their second season.
Okay. So, I mean, I felt like the music was very fitting just because of, you know, where we were at with the Next Generation. So having Goldsmith back was a great addition to this film. Unfortunately, I don't like this film a lot, but it has its points that I like, and the music in Goldsmith is one of the biggest ones that I was glad to have return.
Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very fitting for and it's another one of these. It's, you know, I feel like I say with the score quite a bit that it has kind of a range of different kinds of scenes that they're going through, right? You've got the comedy, you've got the adventure, you've got kind of the escape. So I think it does a great job of moving the movie along. And I don't know, I think, Dave, you said it best. It just fits with it, and I'm very glad that we got this composition team back.
Yeah,
Goldsmith is incredible with action music, and it's not generic action music like you get in a lot of the newer films.
Exactly.
This is very well composed action music that fits the movie beautifully. Now, granted, The Final Frontier doesn't have a ton of action in it, but when it does, Goldsmith freaking nails it. There are even elements in this score that, and as I've mentioned in the Goldsmith episode that we did a while back with Chuck, that fits the first night. There are elements in this score that I hear the first night in it, and it just, God, I love it. It gives me chills when I hear it. So, I mean, he did a fantastic job in this, and Wayne, I know you think so.
Oh, yeah. I think of the 5 scores that he did for the films, this is probably the most Jerry Goldsmith had done with the scores. I mean, it just every second of his music has got his fingerprints all over it. And he is the master of taking bad films and giving them fantastic scores. He's done that so many times. I mean, I could name a dozen of them, like, you know, Mr. Baseball and Supergirl and Criminal Law, and, you know, just you can go on and on. And here's a great example of his music taking a film that could, you know, mediocre to bad and lifting it, you know, making it better than what it really is. And it's a fantastic score. I love this. I've listened to it hundreds and hundreds of times. I remember when I first saw it, I did find it odd that he was using his theme from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, because at the time, you know, it was pretty established that it was the Next Generation, but it wasn't considered the Star Trek theme, the overlaying theme. This is where it started being that. And with his reuse of this, it became the definitive Star Trek theme, and I love it. I'm glad he did. There's quite a few cues in this score that I love, especially that right at the beginning with the Yosemite scenes. It's a track called "The Mountain." I think that's one of the most beautiful pieces. He's just absolutely incredible. The flute and the violins, and Just a little bit of hint of electronic instruments because he always likes throwing something odd in there. But and you're right, the action music is perfect Goldsmith. It reminds me so much of other scores he did, like the Rambo films.
He does.
Yeah, and First Night, definitely First Night.
You can even hear a little bit of what we're going to get in a few Star Trek films with First Contact.
Yes,
that beautiful action music that he's so good at. And Star Trek First Contact is like one of my favorite Star Trek scores. And so, I mean, to see that we're starting to get that build up here to that just makes me so happy.
And he's doing the whole John Williams thing too with this score, something that is not usual for him, in which he's creating themes for various people and things. We've got the friendship theme. There's the quest theme. There's the Shakari theme. There's Cybok's themes. It's very rare for him to do that. When he does, he does a great job, just like Williams does, and it works really well in this film.
It does.
You don't really notice that the themes are separate, but they're there in various forms. It really is Goldsmith at his finest. Yeah. And it's available to purchase. The original score, the soundtrack was released back with the release of the film in 1989. It was on LP, cassette, and CD by Epic Records, but it contained very little of the score, about 38 minutes, 9 tracks, plus the song "The Moon's a Window to Heaven." We had to wait till 2010 before the rest of it came out with La La Land Records. We got a 2 CD set containing all 73 minutes of the score on disc 1 with alternates, outtakes, and the original album remastered for disc 2. But they made it limited to 5,000 copies, and it sold out very quickly after its release, which made Paramount really upset because they had put a order that the Star Trek scores would be available and not limited. So Entrada came in, stepped in, re-released it, and it's still available today. So everybody go out and get a copy of this. You won't regret it.
Does it have every take of "Row, row, row your boat"?
They don't have the singing, but they do have the music. They do have Spock's plucking at the Vulcan harp on there.
There you go. There you go.
All right, let's step back a little bit and talk about the what ifs on this film. Did you guys find out any what ifs about the creation of this film, or what you think should have happened?
Well, I think one of the big ones for me that I was kind of surprised by is Sean Connery's actually offered Cybok's role.
I heard that, yeah.
Which is why they named the planet Shakari. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I mean, think about it. Think Sean Connery playing Cybok. What do you guys think about that?
I think it would have worked, but I like him better as Henry Jones Sr.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Without
he made the right decision. Yeah.
I think we're in the better universe. Yeah.
We are.
For the alternate reality video story, I think this is the better aisle to go down.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have been kind of perplexed by it. I think going into the script, he would have been like, "This is starting to fall apart. It doesn't really make sense." It would be also interesting to see how much of a Star Trek fan he is or is not. With how that plays out. We've seen that happen with a lot of different franchises. People that step in because it'll be fun, but they have no idea what they're getting into. I do think Cybok's character is definitely flawed. I think Lawrence Luckinbill does a good job with the character. I have a little bit of a high respect for him, knowing that he is the son-in-law of Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball. I mean, Lucille Ball had a huge part of making Star Trek even happen.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. It would have seemed like a mismatch, and I think I would hate to see somebody else as Henry Jones Sr. in Last Crusade.
No. I would not want that at all.
That's the absolute perfect casting. I'm glad he did that, not this.
No.
I think I read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they originally, the script have like Spock and McCoy sided with Cybok?
Yes, that's correct. I was going to bring that up.
Okay. That's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it?
It is, and there's a reason why they didn't go with that. A very good reason, because William Shatner's first idea was called Star Trek: An Act of Love. That was the original title of the film. It was much darker, and it featured the first true falling out between Kirk and Spock and McCoy. They would have went with Cybok and left Kirk alone. But this changed because Nimoy absolutely refused to play that.
Good.
He said there's no chance whatsoever that Spock would ever turn on Kirk, especially after what Kirk did for him in Star Trek 3.
Right.
Shatner liked the original idea, and he did his best to try to get Nimoy to change his mind, but Nimoy said no. They're brothers. They're practically brothers. Spock would not betray Captain Kirk. And then, hearing this, DeForest Kelley thought, well, yeah, I agree with that. McCoy wouldn't do that either. Shatner finally, after sitting down thinking about it, he started to agree with them, because he realized that, if the tables were turned, Kirk wouldn't have gone with Sybok. He would never turn against Spock or McCoy either. So that's the reason why we didn't get that part of the story.
But it would have been such a left turn for the arc that it's taking.
Yeah.
Right. It would have made Undiscovered Country seem really, really strange and really, really strained among the crew. And you don't want to do that when they're about to basically wrap up their time in the franchise. I'm glad we got what we got.
Amen.
Yeah. And I don't think the fans would have went for it either.
No.
We all know that those three are they're together. I mean, they are just like brothers. There's no way that they would split like that. Fans would have been against this film more than they already are.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Well, I know there's another. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just gonna. There's another alternate angle to Shakari that we always got with giant rock monsters that Kirk was apparently supposed to fight. Which is a happy accident, because we didn't get that in here, thank God, because I don't know how he would have judo chopped their neck. But that ended up coming back to Galaxy Quest.
Thank goodness.
Yep.
Great scene.
That scene was filmed. They did film that scene.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, they did. But he wanted a whole bunch of rock monsters, but they only were able to make one animatronic. And it happened to be played by stuntman Tom Morga as well.
Oh, hey, there we go again.
I've
Tom's
seen
everywhere.
I've seen the pictures of him in a costume. He personally showed them to me.
Interesting.
They filmed the scene, but it looked so poor, so bad that they dropped that whole thing out of the scene. Although you can very briefly. There's a scene where when God shoots those energy blasts and hit Captain Kirk and it throws him back, you can briefly see one of the rock monsters in the background. You and if you wish to see the scene, you can watch it on the 2-disc DVD release. I'm not sure if it's on the Blu-ray, but it is on the DVD release. So they're there for everybody to watch. I'm glad they dropped it.
And for those listeners who want to know more about this photo album, Wayne is talking about Tom Morga. Please go listen to Con Men 3 in the line that Jeff and I had to wait because of Wayne and Tom Morga.
Oh, you'll love it.
You will. It's great. Great story.
All right. Are there any other thoughts about this film that you guys would like to bring up?
Let's not forget about Kim Cattrall. She auditioned for a role for one of the Klingon warriors.
I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Thank goodness shit didn't happen, because obviously we're going to get her in the Undiscovered Country for a more important role.
Yeah, I ain't crazy about the Klingons or their parts in here. They are also underused and badly used. I'm glad she didn't get that part.
Yeah, I even believe Max von Sydow was favored for the role of Sybok as well.
I can see him playing it though.
I can too. Yes,
I could see that. He'd do a really good job.
I could see him changing it too.
Yeah.
To say something's got to be different about this.
Right.
This doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
And this whole ship of scientists exploring the galaxy, Kirk being the only Star Trek person in that scene to say, like, wait a second, why does God need a starship? Like, let's scan some things. Let's ask some questions. Yeah. Aside from just the fact that there's something called the Great Barrier in Star Trek. Like, well, the sidewalk ends here. We just turned around.
Can't go any further.
Like,
that is probably the most confusing part of the film, this whole Great Barrier thing. How did this is supposed to be in the center of the galaxy? We saw the barrier at the edge of the galaxy in the original series. How did they get there so fast? I mean, there's no way. I mean, look how it was going to take like 80 years for Voyager just to get from the Delta Quadrant. I mean, the Enterprise just flew halfway across the galaxy to the center in 10 minutes? You know, boy, yeah. I mean, Janeway needs to give Kirk a call and find out how he did that. You know?
And this is an older ship too, so interesting. And that's another thing that really bothers me about this film. Okay, the Enterprise having all of those issues. Come on now, what century are we in? How many starships have they created at this point? Come on, there's no way the Enterprise would have that many damn issues. Come on, I could see one or two, but that much, I call BS on that.
I agree. And you know, Scotty's supposed to be one of the best engineers, and his whole ship is falling apart now. You know, where did they get this out of the garbage dump or something? Not a good sign for the beginning of the Enterprise A.
Right.
Well, and wouldn't they have like a pre-crew? Like, don't you put in like the JV team to kind of run the ship for a little while?
Well, you're right.
Until the kinks get worked out, and then you put everybody in. Like, I don't know. It also makes it seem like there's a shortage of starships because they always have to call on the Enterprise. Like, guys.
And this Enterprise,
build some stations.
This Enterprise was actually had a different name. It was another ship before they rebranded it the Enterprise. So obviously it had to have a shakedown cruise, probably went on some missions maybe. I don't remember the name of the original ship, but this isn't like something that just came out of the Utopia Planitia. This is something that's been working. So, you know, I'd at least give a call to that captain or that other crew and figure out what the hell did they do to that starship, you know?
Right.
The USS Almost Prize.
Yeah, it sounds like they got a lemon.
Yeah, right? They did.
It's probably the captain with the riding crop. He got demoted when they outran him, and they were like, "No,
it's his revenge on Scotty. It's his revenge on Scotty for what he did to the Excelsior in Star Trek 3."
Yeah,
exactly.
Which, by the way, I want to point out, this is the last time Sulu serves on the Enterprise.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, interesting.
All right, let's take a second break, catch our thoughts, and then we'll come back and finish up our talk on Star Trek 5. All right, we're back, and now we're going to take a look at some film facts. Everything about the film that we found fascinating and at times maybe somewhat humorous. What did you guys find about the film that you'd like to bring up to start?
Well, I think we've kind of already mentioned a little bit that they were using some of the corridors and sets of Star Trek The Next Generation. I believe sickbay was used unaltered in this film, wasn't it? From The Next Generation?
It was.
Which is, I mean, it makes sense to use, right? Because, I mean, it's right there. They have it built for The Next Generation as it's being filmed. So, I mean, why not?
Yeah. I mean, you know, it really wasn't a major part of the film. So,
right.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made sense to have to build a whole new set.
Exactly.
I found one interesting thing that's not necessarily production, but it's merchandising. Almost on NES. Apparently and I didn't know about this. I looked up a video on YouTube of a playthrough of the prototype, but they had an NES game made for this, based on this movie, which is basically just it seems like a simple side-scroller. If you remember the Batman NES game in '89, far superior. But it's basically like a side-scroller of Kirk or whoever it is kind of, you know, running along various plateaus, shooting at things. Apparently you get to fly the Enterprise a few times, although it's NES Top Gun kind of flying the Enterprise, where there's like up, down, left, right, shoot, shoot, shoot. So not really Sulu level piloting skills there. But it is interesting that they almost had that game, but then canceled it because the movie was not doing well at all.
I would have bought it.
Of course,
just to have it. Yeah.
All right. Star Trek V was released in June 1989. Happened to be the last Star Trek movie to be released in the summer months until 2009 Star Trek. And unfortunately, it was the winner of the 1990 Razzies Awards for Worst Picture, Worst Actor for William Shatner, and Worst Director for William Shatner. Poor guy. The film used a lot of stock footage from the previous films to save money. The shot of the Enterprise in space dock was from the end of Star Trek 4. Many of the shots of the Klingon bird of prey were reused from Star Trek 3. And that starfield that was shown when Kirk was giving his log is actually from the opening credits of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. One of the deleted scenes that is available to watch on the DVD is of Sulu and Chekhov visiting Mount Rushmore, which includes an added face of an African-American woman. Makes me curious about exactly who that was.
Yeah, no kidding.
unusually, there is some product placement in this film, and it's pretty difficult to miss. First, you got Kirk and McCoy are wearing Levi's blue jeans. And Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are enjoying Kraft jet puffed marshmallows or marshmelons around the campfire. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, in the novel, Kirk knew that Spock would be using the computer to do research on the camping, so he actually had the Enterprise's computer techs go in and change all the reference to marshmelons as a joke against Spock's. There is some backstory to that.
Credit to Spock for bringing along, like, what was it, a handheld replicator?
Yeah.
Its sole purpose is to squeeze out one oblong marshmallow.
Near the end of the film, where Spock mentions that he lost his brother, Sybok, Kirk answers, "Yes, I lost a brother once, and I was lucky to get him back." While Kirk did lose his brother George back in the original series episode Operation Annihilate, he's actually referring to Spock here.
Yeah, I thought that was a good moment.
Yeah, me too.
Now, Harv Bennett blamed the movie's failure on, specifically, Star Trek The Next Generation, which is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
How rude. No.
Just because Pulaski was in season 2 doesn't mean she poisoned this one. And luckily it didn't, tank the franchise, because we got season 3 of Next Generation, one of the best, I think.
Well, you're right. That was to come up. But remember, the fans weren't exactly happy with Star Trek at the time, too, because just before, the last image of Star Trek that the fans had before Star Trek V was the clip show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, right.
That's true. That's true. Pull up. We need undiscovered country.
Here's something I want to discuss, which is probably the most irritating thing that I found in this film, and it bothers me every time I watch it. In the levitation boot scene where Spock, McCoy, and Kirk are flying up the turbo shaft, first of all, the deck numbers are seen to go higher as they go up, which they should be going down.
Yeah, it's the other way around. Yeah.
Yes, because the bridge is on deck 1. And in addition, you see them pass the sign for deck 78 on their way up. And then they also pass deck 52 twice. But the Enterprise only has 23 decks. So where the hell are they going? What are these numbers? It drives me insane.
I don't know.
And it's not like they didn't notice. Production designer Herman Zimmerman, he works on the Next Generation. He tried to explain this to Shatner, but Shatner refused to change it. He wanted to shoot the scene exactly the way he had it, because he was convinced that shot was just so damn highly dramatic.
Well, just as I said before, when they ordered the Klingons from Wish.com, maybe they got the Enterprise from Wish.com too.
I think a lot of the jet boots, like, somebody was super excited about jet boots, clearly, because we had to keep bringing those back up. Aside from the fact that I'm not sure how Spock got above them to get the jet boots in the first place. Shouldn't he be coming from beneath them?
Yes. Oh, just great. Yes. Now, that's something I didn't notice. Now it's another thing that's going to bother me about this.
Well, and while we're on jet boots, when Spock catches Kirk from the fall at Yosemite, he's holding him while leaning sideways with the jet boots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the jet boots only seem to have up and down propulsion. So how is he levitating sideways to hold on to Kirk? Just relax and watch the movie. But yeah,
that's a valid point.
Oh. Well, now continuing on, here's a nice little connection. In the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Evolution, which was the next episode that would air after this movie, Lieutenant Commander Data mentions that there has not been a system-wide technological failure on a starship in 79 years. That's a nice little nod back to The Final Frontier. It's assumed that Data is talking about this, and they have confirmed, the writer has confirmed that yes, it's a little connection to Star Trek The Final Frontier.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. CBS aired this time, their one and only Star Trek movie network TV premiere. They aired it on December 3rd, 1991, 3 days before the release of Star Trek VI. And you mentioned the video game, which didn't unfortunately come by, but there was a lot of tie-in merchandise to go along with this film, a lot. Of course, like all the films, there was a novelization. This time it was written by J.M. Dillard, who would go on to write all the rest of the novels for all the remaining Star Trek films. There was a comic book adaptation from DC Comics, this time written by Peter David and art by James M. Fry. Starlog magazine released an official movie magazine, which I'll admit I owned. AMT brought out a re-release of their USS Enterprise model kit, which I'll admit I owned. The toy maker Galoob, which at the time were making fantastic Star Trek The Next Generation action figures, released a set of 5 special figures for Star Trek V, including Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Cybok, and Claw. But to my incredible disappointment, there was no articulation. These were not action figures. They're no more than just statues of the characters.
Not even like hips and shoulders?
Nope. They just stood there, and you were supposed to look pretty, and you were supposed to play with them somehow. I don't know. I was so looking forward to those. I asked for one to look and said, no, I don't want those. All right. Ertl Toys released a small die-cast version of the USS Enterprise and the Klingon Bird of Prey, which was basically just a re-release of their Star Trek 3 line. And then, believe it or not, Kraft sold replicas of that marshmallow dispenser that Spock used.
Of course they
mail order only. I remember this so clearly the summer of 1989. Of course I wanted one. I never did get one, but
I just imagine there must have been so many times when a Star Trek fan is overjoyed at getting 2 marshmallows out of the thing, and then inevitably it gets gummed up in the works, and they're just heartbroken because they're like, I waited so long. Yeah.
Of all the things they could have produced, I mean, you got phasers and tricorders and all this stuff. I mean, what kid wants a marshmallow dispenser? But, well, I did.
I wanted a flying boots, but besides that.
Well, it helps you levitate sideways, so you got that going for you.
Right.
Unfortunately, it makes you repeat several decks. The steering must be haywire. I don't know. But one more kind of element that I feel is a kind of a redemption moment is God is redeemed in Next Generation, because George Murdoch, I kept forgetting where I recognized his face. He was Admiral Hansen in Best of Both Worlds.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
Aside from being a giant floating head with a wig, George Murdoch got a better role a little bit later in season 3. So I think we're all better off for it.
We are.
And that concludes our look back at the film Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. We would like to open a subspace channel to our listeners and hear just what you thought about this entry into the Star Trek universe, your stories of how you saw it first, and your opinions of the film today. Who knows, you might even get mentioned on a future show. Of course, you can email us at afilmbypodcast@gmail.com. Find us online at afilmbypodcast.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And if you're looking for more exclusive content or swag, you can join our Patreon and find out what gems are hidden within. Once again, thank you, David and Scott, for joining me and the listeners for another fascinating discussion.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If you haven't already done so, go back and check out the podcast reviews for the other films and TV shows in the Star Trek universe. And then join us again soon, where we fire our photon torpedoes onto Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. I promise things can only get better for Kirk and this crew. And we hope that everyone will join us again for that discussion on the next episode of Phasers Set to Stun.
And remember, go climb a rock.
Plotting your course on this voyage is your core Trek crew. I'm Wayne Whited.
I'm David Burns.
Damn it! Do it one more time. That was fun. I'll do it second. I'll be number 2.